Some time ago, there was a Buddhist temple at the top of Mount Hang, also known as the Southern Mountain, one of the 5 great mountains in China in Hunan province. The worship halls of the temple were becoming aged and needed renovating. Of course, many people donated money, and the temple employed tradesmen. But there were still many other tasks associated with the renovation that the resident monks were required to perform, such as going down the mountain and bringing back building materials. Unlike nowadays, there wasn't any machinery to assist with the transporting, so they had to physically carry the materials. The roof tiles of this temple are made of iron, and each piece is more than 1 foot long. Why do the roof tiles have to be made of iron? It is because with the mountain's high altitude, the wind is very strong. If tiles of other materials were used, they would be easily blown away. This is what I learned when I visited Mount Hang while passing through Hunan province in 1949. Most of the temples on China's 5 great mountains are Taoist temples, but on Mount Hang, there are 4 Buddhist monasteries. In those days, to get down from the top to the bottom of Mount Hang, one had to get up early in the morning before daybreak and find one's way in the dark. It was also dark when one got back to the mountaintop in the evening. That is how high the mountain is and how long the distance of travel. When viewed from a distance, the mountain, surrounded by clouds and fog, appears to converge with the sky. It is very humid on the mountain, especially during the winter months when there is no difference between the moisture levels on the floor inside the building and outside. Even the pillars drip with dew. The tiles had to be physically carried from the bottom of the mountain by the resident monks. Obviously, those who were dedicated to cultivating blessings worked extremely hard. However, there was always a devious one who faked illness, be it stomach aches, leg pains, or any other aches and pains, to get out of work. He was simply good at making false claims and lying. On one occasion, the disciplinary master saw through his lies and reprimanded him. You have to do work even if you are sick. Otherwise, you are not allowed to eat. Only if you do not eat for 3 consecutive days will you be considered sick. If you eat, you must work. Having no other choice, he reluctantly joined the rest to go down the mountain. He ultimately managed to carry the tiles back to the mountain top and laid them where the worship hall for Vairapani Bodhisattva was to be built. That was all he contributed. Moving 2 tiles, the disciplinary master, seeing that he was unfit for monastic life and would be a negative influence on others if he were allowed to stay, had him expelled. Thereafter he drifted and resided at various places. More than a decade later, he returned to the mountain temple. By this time, all the worship halls had been completed. The reception monk was a new face, and nobody appeared to recognize him. It seemed only he knew his past history. However, his lack of blessings still posed a karmic hindrance. The reception monk, on seeing him and for no apparent reason, said instinctively, "You may not stay." In China, a temple is home to any and all monastics, and they would never be denied temporary residence. Under what circumstances would staying be denied? Only when there is no ordination certificate, cassock, or alms bowl. He arrived with the proper certificate, his cassock and his alms bowl, and he knew the rules. There was no reason why he should not be allowed to stay. But the reception master kept a stony face and said coldly, "When I say you are not staying, that is that. Now leave the mountain." The monks nearby tried to mediate. He came up the mountain during the day, and now it is already dark. How is he going to leave? The reception monk said, "At least get him out of the information center." The monastery covered an immense area, and it was some distance even from the front gate to the main Buddha hall. By the time he got to the front gate, the doors had been closed. He sighed and sadly said, "Well, they won't let me stay, and it is now dark. Where else can I go?" While pacing around the front gate, he came to the Vairapani hall and noticed that there were 2 tiles underneath the offering table. Arching his back, he hid underneath the table. He then started meditating on the 2 tiles, feeling quite comfortable. After sitting there for a while, he appeared to have settled his mind. Then he saw Vairapani Bodhisattva say to him, "What a lazy person you are, always procrastinating and never cultivating any merits. You see, now when you come to the temple, the people here deny you residence. Fortunately, you carried up 2 tiles in the past and cultivated that small amount of blessings. Had you not transported these 2 tiles back then, where would you be sitting tonight? There would be no place for you." He felt very ashamed after receiving Vairapani Bodhisattva's admonition. I was too lazy back then, and my behavior was inexcusable. When everyone was out working hard, I faked illness." Once he began to repent, his mindset changed. He noticed the weeds growing in front of the Vairapani hall and thought, "I have not cultivated any blessings. These weeds have grown so tall. Let me clean up this place." Thus, in one night, he thoroughly weeded the courtyard. The next morning, the reception monk came over and wondered, "I was just about to send someone to clear the weeds. Who did this work?" He looked around and finally saw the monk who was denied residence the night before, sitting under the offering table, having cleared his karmic hindrances. This monk turned into a welcome sight to everyone, including the reception monk. The reception monk smiled and said, "Why are you sitting here?" He then told the reception monk how lazy he was in the past and that Vairapani Bodhisattva had scolded him the night before. As a result, he repented his mistakes and decided to clear the weeds in the courtyard to cultivate blessings. After hearing this story, the Receptarian monk said, "Oh, that's what happened. The story that I told is based on a real event. Being able to attend this 7-day Dharma service means that you are indeed blessed. Had you not planted your virtuous roots within the 3 treasures, you would not have this blessing. In particular, those of you who take up long-term residence at the temple, and those who are preparing for monastic life, you really should cultivate these blessings, which are for your own sake, not others. Do not be lazy and complacent. Otherwise, even your fellow practitioners will not tolerate you, let alone Vairapani Bodhisattva, who will kick you out. People are watching and pointing their fingers. This is the advantage of living in a large group. If you behave well, others will praise you. Otherwise, they will reprimand you. It is very different if you are by yourself, for with a small group, when no one will praise you for your good deeds, or reprimand you for your bad ones. Therefore, you have to stay in a monastery where there are rules and where your peers will assist you. Only then will it be easy for you to make progress in your cultivation.